If it's your first time listening, welcome. I hope that you will stick around with us. And if you've been here before, thank you for coming back. Let's get started. In last week's episode about Polly Jackson, I slipped in a little nugget or a hint for you to remember the term Vigilance Committee. What I didn't say was that these vigilance committees were started by a black man. In one article I read while I was researching, he was referred to as, quote, the real life Django, but I have to disagree respectfully. He was more like Malcolm X to me, way before Malcolm X existed. Season 2, Episode 4. This is Black History Moments, a podcast dedicated to telling the stories of Black historical figures that I feel like don't get the adequate attention and recognition that they deserve. And my name is Shakira. This is the story of David Ruggles. All right, so David Ruggles was born in Norwich, Connecticut in 1810. He was the oldest of 7 children, and his parents were both free. His father's name was David Ruggles Sr., and he worked as a blacksmith and a woodcutter in Norwich. And his mother's name was Nancy Ruggles, and she was a caterer that people loved. More specifically, they loved her cakes. And she was also a founding member of their local Methodist church. So that's just a little backstory on his parents. Now, David was smart, and people noticed pretty early on how intelligent he was, even as a little boy. So his parents had him going to school at what was named the Sabbath School for the Poor. The school was a religious charity school for people who couldn't afford an education. And one thing that I really miss about the old days is the sense of community that people had. Because even though his parents couldn't afford it, because the people in their community recognized and saw how bright David was, they pooled their money together so that they can get a tutor from Yale to teach him Latin. Now that is community right there. When David was 17 years old, in 1827, he moved to New York City. And I wanted to find out what his reasoning was for choosing New York of all places, but I couldn't find a specific reason. I do know that New York was a major port for the U.S. at that time. There would be ships coming in from the South carrying cotton and other products, and then they would get it ready to send overseas. So I'm guessing personally that maybe he moved there because of that reason and because they had more jobs than Norwich, Connecticut. But anywho, when he arrived in New York, he started working as a mariner, or a sailor in other words, and he would work on these different ships. And that was a common occupation for black men at the time. But a year later, in 1828, he opened his own grocery shop in Lower Manhattan, which was where the black community in New York resided at the time. I do want to do another, have I done one already? I don't think so. Another podcast episode on a man named Philip. Philip is the reason that black people moved from Manhattan and into Harlem, which ignited that Harlem Renaissance era, but we'll get to that another day. So back to David and his grocery shop. I did read that when he first opened the grocery shop, he did sell alcohol there, but when he noticed the damage that it was doing to the black community, he stopped selling it. If you can recognize that, David was just a stand-up guy all around. And that's just like the tip of the iceberg before we really get into how good of a guy David was. So now David is like 18, 19 years old, and he expanded his grocery shop to also serve as a library, a bookstore, and a reading room for the black community. At this time, black people weren't allowed into New York's public libraries. So David was like, okay, well, we will just make our own. And this bookstore became the first black-owned bookstore in the United States. And he had a lot going on in this bookstore. I found an old ad. I'll post it on the Instagram page. But I found an old ad that David had printed for the store. And he offered bookbinding services, picture framing services, school books, stationery, printing. But one of the most important aspects of his bookstore was David offering anti slavery publications. David, even though he was born free, he realized that until slavery was outlawed, no one would really ever be free. So he started to connect more with other abolitionists around town, black and white, and he quickly became one of the go to guys in town. And this is where you start to see what I mean when I said that he reminds me of Malcolm X before Malcolm X existed. If you know a little bit about the relationship between Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X, then you know that they often bumped heads, and I'm putting that lightly, about how black people should fight for civil rights. Martin was in favor of the nonviolence approach, which he started to change a little bit before he was killed, and Malcolm was by any means necessary. And that is how David Ruggles was. David was all for what he called, quote, practical abolition, meaning that he wanted black and white abolitionists to confront slave owners face to face on the streets of New York. He said, quote, whatever necessarily requires, let that remedy be applied. Come what may, anything is better than slavery. In other words, by any means necessary, like Malcolm X would say, and David was about that action. So David starts writing. He realized that there was a lot of power in the printed press. So keep in mind, this is the 1800s, so that's the prime.
Grand rising, everyone. Grand rising, everyone. What a beautiful day good Lord has made. Let us be glad and rejoice at it. Like a beautiful day it is. I just got to give it up for David and putting it down in the 1800s. Come on. Beautiful, 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 beautiful. I've never heard of David and never knew of his story up until earlier. So happy to share this with you. I'm going to drop the link. I'm going to share that. Before we even get started, get into anything, I want to drop that word on you right there. Um, we're talking about Joshua 1 and 9. Joshua 1 and 9, says, have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. And as you can see, this little girl here is smiling. There's a ray of light shining down behind her, which I just assume is a presence, of God. And the little spots or sparkles of light, even be representing angels at this point. But to see that even in her darkest moments, she fears not. She has the Lord with her. We'll dive deeper into this. So let's go ahead and jump in and take a look at what we take a look at. First thing we do, we get into the word, we pray, and then we go ahead and we look at the market. So that's what I do in my real life. So here on the charts, I just like to, have a scripture first. So 9 o'clock at 1 hour, we're looking at red folder news for USD. Then coming over here, and same thing about an hour. I'm gonna have red folder for USD, and then 7 hours orange folder for USD, and everything else is going to be lemons and limons. That's what we just say, all limons. All right. So that is it. Thank you all for being here. Come on in and wipe your shoes off and take off your feet. You know what I mean? Relax. Let's look at this market and see what's going on. All right. I want to encourage everybody, if you have not already, take a look at our disclaimer. We're not financial advisors. We're not offering financial advice. Past profit does not guarantee future results. This company does not in any way, guarantee that people will take trades. We do tell people that if you're going to trade in your demo account. Okay. We have a show that's called a pop-up pipping show where we will pop up and drop pips on you. So if you subscribe to the channel or hit that notification bell, you'll be notified when we drop those pips. every Saturday. We do the Trading Compass at 6 p.m. Central. We teach people about trading. So if you know somebody wants to know or you want to know more about trading yourself, then jump on and check us out where we unlock your future to trading right here. I am your host, Chalk, and also known as Chalk and Hood, Chalk, Coach Chalk, Chalk and Hood. So make sure that you like, share, subscribe to the channel, and that kind of helps us out. I don't know how they say it does, talking about, but we shall see. We shall see. Well, let's go ahead and let's jump over into the charts. We have seen the news. Now, let's get it in where we fit it in. Looking at yesterday, everything that we called hit TP. We had a 50 pip trade that was called in our group. I think we did over 70 pips yesterday. Let me just check and see what did we do in our group. Just hold tight and I'll get that inflow to the nation to you. Way to start off a Monday. Way to start off a Monday. So it looks like we had a total of 50, 60, 70. We did 80 pips yesterday. 80 pips. So nice, nice, nice. We had trades over here on the tube where everyone is at right now. And those taketh thou off it. Did a good job. All right. Welcome. Hey, how you doing? You late? Huh? Oh, she's rocking the bells. Oh, we missed you. People were wondering where you was at. They was just asking, like, where's the wife? We gotta tell her y'all was okay. I don't have anything in the chat. All right. And thou must be telling the truth it. Oh, all right. They didn't say it verbally, but I know somebody was wondering, like, where is she at? It's so quiet. We don't hear her. It's a different type of quiet when you're here. It's a different quiet. My wife just walked in the office. Got to mess with her. I don't have to, but you know. So we're over here looking at UJ first. We know we have news coming up in about an hour for USA. Looks like USA is trying to pick up a little momentum, trying to get a little strong here. USA is trying to get more strong. Okay, you see that push up, just showing that USA is in possession of the ball. And it looks like their point guard is dribbling it down, headed for another score. Okay. And let's go down here to NZD/USD and see what's happening here. Hard to tell. There's a strong push up here of NZD/USD, and they are running the ball here. Okay. So US is trying to be strong and bring the ball back home down to their court, but it's pretty tough on them. Let's go over here to GU. GU looking like a stuffing in a muffin. Looking like a stuffing in a muffin. I mean, it's possible it could be a move to make, but not trying to put any counter trend trades in. Just kind of sitting back and seeing what's happening. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to look around, and while I'm looking, I'm gonna hear. I want to hear some more about David. I want you to hear some more about David. No need for me to keep bumping my gums. All right. Again, thank y'all very much for being here this morning. And if you didn't hear me say it, what a beautiful day it is the good Lord has made. Let us all be glad and rejoice in it. Okay.
Primary source of communication and getting mass messaging out. So David starts writing and he starts printing and publishing what he named the Mirror of Liberty. Now, this was the first journal by a black person in the United States. David had a lot of firsts, as you'll see. So remember, he had the first black-owned bookstore, and now he's the first black person to print his own journal. So this journal, The Mirror of Liberty, was filled with anti-slavery writing, and he actually started making enemies when this journal started getting popular. there was a group by the name of the American Colonization Society, and the group was also against slavery, but their solution to slavery was to send African Americans back to Africa. And David was like, no. For those of us that were born here, raised here, built this land, why would we get shipped back to a continent that we know nothing about? So he would print articles in his journal attacking that approach. And because of that, the group got super upset with him. But they weren't the only ones. He was also making pro slavery white people upset with all this talk about abolishing slavery and confronting slave owners. So one day, an angry mob destroyed his bookstore and burned it down, thinking that that would get him to just shut up. But no. David was determined, and if anything, that just made him go harder. He opened another bookstore slash reading room, and this time he opened it in a different location, and he started holding meetings inside for what he started as the New York City Vigilance Committee, and he
All right, so here we go. Let's put this first one in right now. We are looking at AUD/USD. Now, I want to keep this up front and center, and I just wanted you to be aware that we do have red folder news coming. So sometimes people will do things or say things and say, "Hey, I'm going to do this," and if you feel it's not a wise choice or trade to take, then do not take it. 0.62862, and then TP 0.62758. 0.62. That's your entry. Your TP 0.62758 is my TP. Okay. If the wife says I'm talking low, I don't know why I sound so low. Do I sound low to you, or can you guys hear me pretty good? Let me know. Just got a message from one of my students that they're having iPhone trouble, not able to download the apps that they want to download. And I'm like, man, said that he just may have to purchase an Android. Well, I'm not gonna say his name because he may not want everybody in the team to know that he's about to get turned out. It's about to get turned out. All right, let's get back to David, y'all. Burn my bookstore down. I'm gonna teach y'all a lesson.
He started it in 1835. Now, before I give you more on David, let's have a quick rundown. I hope it'll be quick rundown on what the vigilance committees were and the purpose that they served. We all know what the Underground Railroad was, but in my opinion, vigilance committees were just as important, but we just don't discuss them mainly because we just don't know about them. So, hopefully, we can change that today. I think we have a misconception that just because enslaved people were escaping north to freedom, that these northern states were welcoming them with open arms, like, oh my gosh, hi, welcome, yay, freedom. That wasn't the case. Many white New Yorkers were pro slavery because the city relied so heavily on trade. So, like we said earlier, the South was shipping cotton up north. So, imagine a map in your head. So, you have these ships coming from the southern states up to New York, shipping cotton and other products. And then New York is in turn getting it ready and shipping it to England. And to help keep that trade system going, bankers and merchants in New York will often give money or loans to Southern slaveholders so that they can buy new slaves to work on the fields. Crazy, right? So, on top of all that, Southern slaveholders would come to New York to visit, and they would buy new textiles for clothing and furniture, etc., and they would stay at the hotels on Broadway, or they would have second homes in New York when they came, and they will also be there to make deals, wholesale deals with businesses while they were there. So I tell you all of that for two reasons. One, because New Yorkers were pro slavery because they needed to keep a good relationship with these people in the South so that their businesses wouldn't suffer, i.e., the hotels, real estate, the deals that they made, and the cotton and other products that they would send up there. But I also tell you this because when these slaveholders will arrive in New York, they will often bring enslaved individuals with them to cater to their needs and do work for them while they were there. Now, New York state law said that they can only have these enslaved individuals with them in New York for up to 9 months. After 9 months, the person was then free, but these slaveholders will often break that law. And a lot of the enslaved individuals knew nothing about this. Now, mind you, if I'm enslaved in Georgia and this law is in New York State, I can't read or write. There's no form of communication for me to get information from people in New York. I don't know that I've been here 9 months and after 9 months I'm free to go. I don't know that. So keep that in mind for a little bit later. And I know this may be a lot, but it's important context to have once we get back into David's part in all of this. So, another thing that was happening at the same time, these Southern slaveholders were starting to get word of this thing called the Underground Railroad. And people that they quote owned, I hate saying that. I hate saying that. I wish I had different terminology, but okay. The people were running away and going north.
I interrupt this program to say that we are missing thumbs. If anyone has seen any thumbs up, please bring them to the screen. Missing thumbs, like a thumbs up. Just one on the screen, one tap, one like. There we go. We got one. Thank you for returning the lost thumbs. We are counting hands. It looks like 8, maybe 9 are in here, and we have 3 thumbs. Please bring your likes to the front. Thank you. Back to our regularly scheduled program.
To freedom, and they wanted to do something about it. So last week we talked about the bounty hunters and how they would go to northern cities and
I interrupt this program to let y'all know how rude y'all are this morning. Breaking news. Breaking news. Rudeness has been discovered in the house. That's right. How can you walk in somebody's room and not even say hi? How would you feel if I showed up at your house for dinner, sat down and ate and wouldn't even speak to you? Huh? I'm over here trying to feed you. All I want is just a little, hey, good morning. God bless you. Grand rising. Top of the morning. How you doing? God bless you. Thank you. Good looking out. Man, whoa. Hey, tell your wife to stop talking so much. I mean, anything, just something, speak to us, say something to the people, right? So at the same time, we're missing thumbs that still haven't showed up, and then we're missing uh, actual people. So if there are any people in here that have actually seen any people that can say hi or hello or something in the chat, do that. And when I get that, it encourages me to put in another trade. And I just may be encouraged to do that if I feel like I'm not doing this for myself, you know? So, all right, back to our regular scheduled program.
kidnap free children and people and then sell them down south. Well, back to David. He started getting word of these people snatching children off the streets of New York, free children. being lured away from where they would play in front of their homes, just outside walking on the street, going to a corner store, and he recognized this and started getting word of it. Hence his formation of the New York City Vigilance Committee. So, this vigilance committee was just what it was named. It was a group of vigilantes, and their primary focus when they were formed was to protect the free black people in New York and keep them safe from these bounty hunters who were looking for a quick dollar to sell free people into slavery. But it wasn't long before they started to expand their focus. They wrote that their goal was to, quote, protect unoffending, defenseless, and endangered persons of color by securing their rights as far as practicable, end quote. And just so you can have a visual, an instance of this occurred December 1836 after a Portuguese slave ship named Brilliant arrived in the harbor with 5 enslaved Africans on board. So, several men connected to the Vigilance Committee in New York sprang into action on Christmas Eve. What a day to do it. Okay, so on Christmas Eve, they stormed the ship, and once they finished wrapping up, they ended up with 2 of the enslaved men. They were able to get 2 of them free. And when a sailor tried to stop one of them, quote, one of the gang cocked a pistol at him and threatened to blow his brains out, end quote. So, David got the captain of the ship arrested on charges of slave trading. And when the captain was released on bail, he went and rounded up a slave catcher. They found out where David stayed, and he went to David's house with this slave catcher. And he knocks, and
Some
David
people can't
knows
talk
that they're not there for
because
anything
they
good.
have
And so he escapes.
iPhones. When
I'm
you have an
thinking
iPhone, it's
maybe out the
hard
back
to
door
comment on
since
YouTube. You know, they iPhone people do not. They just can't. So that's what I believe. I don't have an iPhone, so I don't know. But most people I know that have iPhones, they don't comment on YouTube. So that could be what it is. Not that they're really shy. It's just that their phones don't allow them to do. iPhone people can't do stuff that Android people do. You know what I'm saying? I would never say that. I wouldn't let them know that's how I feel. You know what I mean? But that's how it is. Am I unmuted? Can you hear me? Oh shoot, dog it. Hey. What's up, everybody? Grand Rising, good. We just talking about most of y'all. Just saying that y'all are a good group of people when y'all want to be. Y'all some fool around Joneses. All right, y'all. We're gonna try to find another setup. Just taking our time. We got opening bell at 8:30. Maybe we can see what the market is going to do, which way it's going to go. So let's just hold tight. All right.
they tried to break down his front door, but they weren't able to. So David was able to get away, and he went and got a friend to come back and help him. The friend was also a part of the vigilance committee, and they eventually found out that they intended on kidnapping David and selling him into slavery. And
What?
so the committee will also start advocating for enslaved people in New York when those, remember I mentioned earlier how they would bring enslaved people with
They
them.
was gonna
So
kidnap
they will
David
start
and sell
advocating
him.
for these people when the
What?
slaveholders completely disregarded the 9-month limit. David and other members of the committee would confront them on the streets and try to
Wow.
force them to free the person. He would even go to their homes. Like, I was thinking about this earlier,
Crazy.
how thorough the committee had to be monitoring for 9 months how long these people have stayed in New York. Can you imagine watching someone for 9 months just to make sure that they've been there exactly 9 months so you can keep track of the enslaved person that's with them? I don't know. I was thinking about that earlier. But after the 9 months will be up, David would go to their homes, knock on the door, and he would tell the black person inside, "You've been here over 9 months. By New York state law, you are free to go." And of course, they continue to fight against the kidnappers on the streets. One article says this, quote, "But most important to the committee was their crusade against the kidnappers who posed a threat to every black resident in New York City. Paid agents and bounty hunters roamed the city searching to capture runaways. They were aided by city officials who allowed black men women and children to be jailed and shipped south with few questions asked, even though state law supposedly required they be granted trial by jury. The city's, quote, kidnapping clubs, as Ruggles called them, went even further. City officials pounced on legally free black New Yorkers and dragged them south for sale on the flimsy assertion that they were runaways. Children as young as 9-year-old John Welch, lured from his Mulberry Street home, were caught up in this dragnet and were sometimes shipped hundreds of miles away from their parents who couldn't plead for their return. With funds provided by local white abolitionists and by a network of 100 black New Yorkers who raised cash from hundreds more, the Committee of Vigilance hired skilled lawyers to help captives held in city jails or already deported to the South. Although the city's judges, many of them well-connected Democrats, sometimes refused to cooperate, by 1838, Ruggles and his committee had saved a reported 522 individuals from slavery. The committee counted on the influence and support of its white members, but black men and women were its troops on the ground, keeping an eye on potential kidnappers and mobilizing the city's African American community to assist Ruggles, end quote. So, over time, David uncovered a conspiracy that was happening in New York. The chief magistrate, that's what it was called at the time. So now I guess it would be like a chief judge. So the chief magistrate was the number 2 person in charge in the city. The first person was the mayor. So you had the mayor, and under the mayor, you had the magistrate. And at this time, the magistrate in New York City was a man by the name of Richard Riker. Let me just say his name again. Richard Riker. His name may sound familiar, and it should, because this man came from a notable family, and that family owned what we know as Rikers Island, where the prison is. It's just so amazing to me how things are connected. Okay, anyway. So being that bounty hunters were kidnapping children off the streets of New York, free children, to sell them into slavery down south, David started doing some digging into it, and he found out that Richard Riker was getting kickbacks or payments from these bounty hunters / kidnappers. They would pay him, and in exchange for payment, he would allow them to take the children out of New York and sell them to slavers down south. Can I just say, when I read that, when I saw Richard Riker, I was like, Riker, because Riker is not a common name. I don't know anyone with the last name Riker. The only time I've heard Riker is Rikers Island. And so when I read Richard Riker, I was like, Riker, I wonder if that has anything to do with Rikers Island. And ding, 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 it did. Okay, so as time goes on, David put together a network of safe houses and boarding homes for escaped black people in New York. And these homes became stops on the Underground Railroad. One day in 1838, a 20-year-old man gets off a ship on Manhattan Island, and he's smelling the fresh air. Freedom is in the air. Oh my gosh, the possibilities are endless, right? Well, that didn't last long, because he runs into another runaway, and the runaway tells him, hey, this city is full of Southerners, and they will kidnap you and they'll send you back down south, so don't trust anyone. David got word of this escapee that had just arrived, and he sent for him to come to one of his boarding homes. He talks to him for a while, and he finds out that this escapee has a fiance who's still down south. So David also sent for the man's fiance to come to New York too, and when she did, the two got married in David's boarding house. This man was Frederick Douglass, one of the most notable abolitionists in history. And David did this for a lot of people. Time goes on, and other major cities were getting word of what he was doing in New York with the vigilance committee. So these cities started creating their own vigilance committees. Boston, Philadelphia, Cleveland, all of these cities followed suit to protect the black people there. By the time David turned 28, It was like he had been through enough for 2 or 3 lifetimes. His health was suffering. He was almost blind. He was extremely frail and weak. And he had been physically assaulted so many times by people in New York. Several times, more than one occasion, he was almost lynched. And on top of all that, some other black abolitionists started criticizing his approach, saying that he was too extreme. And because of all of this, he stepped down from the New York Vigilance Committee and he moved to Florence, Massachusetts. There in Florence was a community of abolitionists, and these abolitionists, they referred to the community as a utopia. When he arrived there, he started undergoing treatments using water cure, which was just hydrotherapy basically. And with these treatments, he got some of his sight back, but he was still.
We are 1 minute away, maybe 2 minutes away from opening bell. Let's see what happens in the market and which way it pushes things and drives things. And then, we may deal with some consolidation here for a while because we have news coming in 31 minutes, 9 o'clock Central, 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And this could most definitely swing or push the market, depending on what this news does. So this is like just for USA, but sometimes that news can push other currencies. So I know we're sitting here watching paint dry right now, but at the same time, it doesn't make sense to rush into the market if you're not sure what's going on. So sit back, sit on your hands, and just wait. It's a waiting game. Okay. All right.
Struggling to be able to see, and his health did improve because he saw just what hydrotherapy could do for him. And so he was like, okay, I see what it did for me. Let's see what it can do for others. And he built the first building in the nation dedicated exclusively to hydrotherapy. Not just the first black business dedicated to hydrotherapy, but the first building in the nation, period, dedicated exclusively to hydrotherapy. I'm telling you, David was a man of first. So this facility treated many people, but one notable person that came for treatment was a woman by the name of Sojourner Truth. David went on to mentor Sojourner, and he also kept a great relationship with Frederick Douglass as well. He served as a mentor for him too. So Frederick Douglass once wrote this about the community in Florence. He said, quote, "Here at least, neither my color nor my condition was counted against me. I found here my old friend David Ruggles, not only black, but blind, immeasurably helpless, but a man of sterling sense and worth. He had been caught up in New York City, rescued from destitution, brought here and kindly cared for. I speak of David Ruggles as my old friend. He was such to me only as he had been to others in the same plight. Before he was old and blind, he had assisted me as well as many other fugitive slaves on the way from slavery to freedom."
When your auto insurance coverage is too big or too small.
See that this man who had zealously assisted others was now receiving assistance from the benevolent men and women of this community. For his blindness, he was hydrophatically treated in the community. He himself became well versed in the water cure system and was subsequently at the head of a water cure establishment at Florence. He acquired such sensitiveness of touch that he could, by the feeling of the patient, easily locate the disease and was therefore.
I'm gonna interrupt this program to let you know that it's gonna be an opening. I'm gonna have an open position. Anybody looking for work? let me know. Because my retired wife sitting up here on my side talking about some, why does work feel so long? Is it almost time to go yet? We put in an hour a day and then we done. She's exhausted, just overworked. Just this whole hour. I gotta work the whole hour. Oh gosh. So if anybody wants to give up a 9 to 5 and want to be able to, if you could put in an hour and survive without falling asleep and being bored, uh, it's gonna be a position. Oh, just yarning. Can y'all hear her yarning? Just put in your notice so you could take a nap. Looking for vacation time. How many hours have you accrued? Oh man, that is funny. Nah, but it's serious because you get used to this, and it's like, man, dog, what time is it? We halfway through? Seem like we seem like it seem like we've been here for a long time. I don't know about y'all. Yeah, and then it's so quiet, but that makes it even harder. Man, I don't know about y'all, but when you get used to working, like 8 hours is a long time. And then when you stop working, you got to work an hour. Believe it or not, an hour is a long time, and especially when it's quiet. You'll be at work and be like, when it's busy, time goes by faster. Yeah, yeah. We just sitting here listening about David, and y'all so quiet. We're just sitting and waiting for something to happen anywhere else in the market. Market just opened up about 4 minutes ago. Opening bell, not the market open. Opening bell, just that opening bell about 4 minutes ago, and we're just kind of sitting and seeing if anything's going to shake, if anything's going to bake, and that's it. So, kind of thinking about making a move over here. I may see something, not quite on NU. Looking at Euro GBP, but be honest with you, that ship has sailed. That ship has sailed. So maybe we can get one over here. See if we can catch one over here. Man, it's quiet. Nobody's looking for a job. Nobody's talking. I know this. We probably have a bunch of bots watching us this morning. You know how they can't um, identify crosswalks and they can't check that little box that says "I'm not a robot." So it'll probably be hard for them to do anything else that we're asking if they're bots. When they create a robot that can identify crosswalks and bikes, I just want y'all to know that we are going to be in trouble. The world is going to be in trouble. see what happens. Let's just check it out. This is not what I'm looking at. I mean, this I'm just moving this around. Nothing is it's down yet. Nope, not calling anything yet. Just waiting. Just waiting. If you're just joining, we're looking at GBP JPY. Sorry, so we're looking at over here right now. This is AUD USD where we're holding on to this position for sell stop that I put in. So just waiting at this point. Ooh, thank you. You know, people could be at work for real and not able to type and text and all that stuff when they're at their jobs. And I did just sneeze, so excuse me. And if you, I would say, you know, if you haven't, you got a blessing laying around. I'm, uh, I'm accepting blessings, but if I can't get a thumb, I know I can't get a blessing. So, let's see here. I'm gonna put David back on. Let's see what David is doing, and then we'll just wait, see if something pops up. We don't force anything around here.
Very successful in treating his patients. End quote. Even though David's health improved for a few years, his body had been through a lot. From his days of activism in New York, his health issues started to flare back up again, and he passed on December 16th, 1849, and he was 39 years old. And this is probably one of my favorite episodes to date because David was just so relentless in his activism and his approach to freedom. I think that a lot of people look out for self and may have felt like, well, I was born free, so there's nothing I have to do for the enslaved people down south. But David just wasn't built that way. And it didn't matter that he was born free and that he never experienced slavery himself. He still fought for others. And I really admire that. I hope that you will share the story of David Ruggles with someone this week, and I hope that you will educate someone else on what vigilance committees were and the importance of them. Don't forget to follow the Instagram page at Black History Moments because we are posting new Black figures every single day. Yeah, so share the post so that other people can learn a little bit more about Black history. And remember that you too are Black history. And I will see you all next week in a new episode. Bye, guys.
All right, there we go. That was nice, David Ruggles. I mean, I just dropped the link in the chat, so if you wanted to, you know, share this with somebody, you can. If you want to watch it for yourself, you can. Very, 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 very powerful, I think, and then also motivating to see what people went through and how they just didn't give up like a lot of people do nowadays, you know. So, and to be able to help people that can't help themselves is very powerful. So, I think that if you um if you all can do that, if we all can do that, everybody can do that, this world would be a better place. My wife and I, we um, right now, as I speak, we are taking care of and helping four, three, four, four homeless individuals that can't take care of themselves. So, you know, We don't do it for anything in return. We know that they can't pay us back. Um, so we're just doing it from the kindness of our heart. And some people, notice it and say stuff to us about it, and then other people just want to be funny acting and just say stuff like we're supposed to take care of them, they're your kids. And it's like, either way you look at it, um, they can't take care of themselves. So, and they don't have a home. We provide them a one. So, do they appreciate it though? No. Fool around Jones is what they are. But no, give, donate, help people, that can't help themselves. What I'm looking at here is for this. This could continue to shoot up, but I'm not really sure about how far this may go up. So, but it's doing everything that it needs to do to continue our push up. So if we were looking, could we be able to get 10 out of this? I think it shouldn't be a struggle to get a 10 piece in a biscuit. So I'm just gonna put this here, and then because we're running low on time, I don't really want to force anything, but I do want to be in the way. You know, if we're in a drought and rain is coming, I want to get wet. With my bucket, I'm gonna take my umbrella and turn it upside down. Okay. So GBPJPY because I gotta. I'm gonna do a buy stop on GBPJPY and do what? I'm gonna miss this trade because I gotta fix it. Gotta fix this before I get fired. If y'all can put it in, that'll be good. Go ahead and put that in. Um, there we go, right there. And that entry is going to be 191.651. That's 191.651. And then that TP is going to be 191.759. Now I'm looking for the wick section to show up and then push up like a workout. So 191.759 would be the TP for this. Wife is dropping it like it's hot over there in the chat, Telegram. So keeping you informed what's going on here. Do you think they may want a 50 piece? Drop 50 pips on them today? All right, we hit them for 50 yesterday. We're gonna drop our 50 piece in the chat. 50 pips going on, getting ready to pop off. So y'all get ready for that. We're gonna do that over there in the chat. Those people that trade, realize how important it is to have patience. So we're gonna do that, and let's try to wake people up a little bit. Let's do that. Let's get them woke it up. Woke it up. Time to woke it up. Let's go. we're sitting here and waiting to see what's going to happen. I want to dive a little deeper into our word. Joshua 1:9. Have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged. For the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. I just want y'all for a moment to just think about getting ready for a big test, getting ready for a career change, getting ready to step out on faith, right? Trying out for a sports team in a big race, big event. Right? You may be doing a big event, maybe going to a big business meeting, a big deal that you're getting ready to have to attend. And you might feel a little nervous, little butterflies. This verse right here is like God giving you a pep talk, like he's your coach. And he's yelling, he's screaming at you, I told you, I got your back. Be brave. Don't be. Okay, I just want to sound like the coach from Rocky, but I just couldn't get it. So, but God probably not going to yell and scream at you. He's going to be that little soft whisper that says, I told you, be brave. I'm here with you. Don't be scared. You ever had those moments where your father or your parents, or maybe even you as a parent, have talked to your kids like this? Don't be scared. Don't be afraid. I'm going to be with you no matter what. You're strong. You can do it. You can do this. This is what this verse is doing for us. This is what our Father is doing for us. It's like having a coach or a dad who's with you and who's always there to support you. It's like having your mother always there to have your back, tell you, you can do this. You've got it. We've got this. You are not alone. So think about this verse, Joshua 1:9. You got this. You can do it. God is with you. And when God is with you, who can be against you? No one. All right? So remember that. We're approaching the top of the hour. We'll be getting out of here pretty soon. Just want to invite each and every one of you to feel free to join our Facebook page. Join us over there at allbarelite.com or allbarelite on Facebook. Also, if you want to know how to trade, go over to allbarelite.com and register for our Easy 80 trading program. All right, jump on a Zoom with you or a phone call, whatever works best for you. Talk to you, see where you're at, see if we can help you out. Follow us. Join the Pop-Up Pippin Show. Catch us every Saturday, 6 p.m. Central. Free trading conference course. All right, we're unlocking your future trading. All Bar Elite. You're trading live with Coach CHOC, aka ChocinHood, bringing Wall Street to y'all street, taking from the rich and giving to the poor. All right. This company is not guaranteed profit. And any trade decision you make are at your own risk. All right. We're not financial advisors. We're not offering financial advice. All right. My lovely wife on the right hand side, sidekick, Miss CHOC and Miss Hood. Somebody on the team gave her a pip name, but I forgot what it was. So y'all just hold tight, and we thank y'all. God bless. We out.